A Svelte app is made of one or more components, and those components have .svelte extension. Here in the source directory we have a component called app.svelte. It's actually a top-level component that contains the whole Svelte app itself. So every Svelte component is made of three parts. First, the JavaScript code in the script tag, then CSS styles in the style tag, and then the HTML template that will be rendered in the browser. The template itself isn't nested in any template tag or similar like in Vue.js, for example. The only required part of the component is the HTML template. The script and style tags are optional. Okay, let's remove the code that we have here for this example app. I'll also jump over to the main.js file where this component is initialized as a top-level app component, and then let's remove that property that was used before. Now back to the component. First off, how's data rendered into templates? Let's define a variable and assign it a value. This variable can now be used in the template, so let's write a heading. We plug in the variable here using curly braces. Now let's check the browser. See? It's rendered here in the page. The data can also be rendered into HTML tag attributes. So let's see how. Let's add a URL of an image into the variable image URL. Now let's add an image tag with the source attribute and then assign a value of image URL variable to it. We can use the same syntax of curly braces as before. It's called the mustache syntax, by the way. So let's check the browser and we see that the image was rendered. Alright, back to the code. We see now that the Svelte compiler complains that we don't have an alt attribute in the image. This is another neat thing with Svelte. It cares about accessibility. Pretty cool, right? Okay, let's add the alt attribute. I'll first add the new variable with the movie name and just plug it in to the alt attribute. Alright, now I can see that the warning is now gone and the page looks the same. Now open Chrome DevTools and check the HTML. And we can see that the alt tag here is rendered correctly. There's another thing I want to show you. So let's define a new variable containing some HTML. Now I can render this string as HTML. I can use the same mustache syntax. I also put @HTML here. You can see in the browser this part of the text is bold, so it's rendered as HTML. Just be careful with this one, because this is actually vulnerable to cross-site scripting attacks, and actually should be escaped manually if what is being rendered comes from an untrusted source. Alright, let's now just talk about nesting components for a bit. A typical app in Svelte would actually have a bunch of components nested within each other. So how do we nest components? Let's remove the code first we wrote so far. Let's say we want to nest a new component into this one. First I'll put some markup here, like a paragraph. I'm a parent. Now below that I want another component to be in charge of rendering some other markup. I'll call it child, so it's clear in this case. Well, let's now create that child component. We'll first create a new file called child. And then I'm gonna put some markup here, like this. The only thing left now is to import the child component within the parent component. Alright, now let's check the browser. Cool, we see that both components are rendering the markup. Okay, so finally, let's talk about CSS. We define all the styling we want for a component in the tag called style. The thing about styles in this tag is it's scoped by default. Scoped means that the styles defined in here are only seen in this component. By the way, to achieve this in Vue.js, for example, you would have to explicitly write the scoped keyword, like this. Alright, let's put this to the test. Let's define a style for the paragraph to have a red font. Now this will only apply to the paragraph in this parent component. The child is unaffected. So if you check the rendered page, you can see only one paragraph in red here, and that belongs to the parent component. Okay, I hope you liked this video. If you want to stay updated on the upcoming ones, hit that subscribe and bell button. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.